Welcome to the Project with Sam and Lewis, the podcast that looks at projects throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the second episode of White Rabbit Project.
We certainly are. For some reason, I thought you were going to say Zeta Project then.
Yeah, I'd also had something else written down in my notes, so that's why there was a little stumble there.
Yes, White Rabbit Project, the spin-off of Mythbusters.
Yes.
We did the first episode a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, but
we thought it was all right, didn't we? There were some good parts with some
bad parts.
We didn't really like the hosts. 2 out of 3 hosts are bad.
Yeah.
And one of them, unfortunately had passed away since, which is very
Grant
sad.
Imahara.
Grant Imahara. But we'll talk about that in a little moment. We've got time codes in the episode description if you want to skip ahead. Before we get into anything else, how are you today, Lewis?
Yes, I am not bad. I've got a bit of a bad back. That's just
back to the classic pod.
Yeah, I'm like,
we're getting into that period, aren't we? Where we were recording those first episodes last year.
Yeah, and we were just falling apart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think you had some sports injuries. Not much was going on with me, to be honest, and not in a good way. And I was thinking about it recently. I was thinking about the excitement of those first few episodes and some of the classic moments there, and wondering what the hell went wrong. No. But
the bar has just been rising higher and higher
as
since the Dinosaur Project.
Exactly. As we've got more professional. We've lost that little spark somewhere.
No,
not at all.
We're not quite sellouts yet. We're still waiting for that offer to come in.
I was going to say, you're very welcome to send in something, anybody, if you've got some monetary values you want to slide across the table.
This episode is brought to you by the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. I'm sure they've got some cash to spare. But yeah, what about the first segment, Lewis?
The first segment. Project news.
Woo!
I did hit the mic a bit as I went to do that.
Right, we're very professional, as I said.
Of course, it just makes us seem more real.
Yeah.
We don't like to look down on our fans.
Yeah, our setup is like super swish. Like everything works. There's no duct tape on anything at all.
Everything is like chrome.
Yeah, it's like an Apple shop, but instead of everything being white, it's chrome. Yeah, it's great. And there's nothing ever goes. We didn't spend 20 minutes trying to get the mics to work.
No, we never do. We have engineers to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, what's the guy in what's that? Joe Rogan? He's always like, so and so, get that on the screen. It's like Jamie or something. He's like, Jamie, get that up. I've literally never listened to an episode.
No, nor have I.
I've seen the clips and I've heard people.
I've barely even seen any clips, to be honest.
I'd quite like to have if this guy's or person's name is Jamie, I'd like to have another Jamie, because we've already got 2 Jamies here, haven't we? The 2 people who protect us. Anyways, this tangent has gone on slightly too long, slightly too early there. Okay. So what news have you got for us?
From BBC News.
How did you find this news?
Yes. Sorry.
It's because I distracted you with my weird story about you.
You did. Yes. So as always, I googled the word project and picked out 2 news stories that looked interesting to me.
Nice.
Or just 2 ones that we can have a conversation about. These were both actually on page 1. I got to page 13 looking for if there's anything else, and there was.
That's a good sign, isn't it? They're high quality then.
Yeah. So the first one is J.J. Abrams filming for new project in Belfast scrapped. So he was making a sci-fi drama called Demimonde. That was going to be a HBO series in the same studios where they did Game of Thrones,
right,
and the upcoming Dungeons and Dragons film, but they've scrapped it. They've decided they're not going to push on. Most of this article is about the studio in Belfast being a bit disappointed, because that's like,
it
for a TV show, that's a shit ton of money,
cash injection kind of thing.
It would have provided work for more than 600 people as well.
Right. Did it say why they ran out of whatever? Why it didn't work out?
I think it was not going ahead due to budget issues. So I think HBO may have pulled money from it to go somewhere else. Maybe the Lord of the Rings series. Although it's happened recently.
They've planned out like 5 seasons of that Lord of the Rings series, which is, I guess it's good to plan ahead, but also like
it's really hoping it's good.
Yeah, the reactions haven't been like super good.
I think they never were gonna be because it's Lord of the Rings.
No, people are quite protected, but also the Hobbit films weren't that good, so it's like they can't really. You know, it's kind of like sequel trilogy, like territory, isn't it, for like Star Wars? Because we've had the original trilogy, we had like the disappointing second trilogy that maybe people will look back on favorably in 10 years, but realistically.
And we are kind of in that era that in social media, it's so easy for people who really hate something to make their opinion known and distributed.
Oh, totally. It's almost impossible to like guard against controversy. And I say controversy, it's just like stupid fan shit.
Like as far as like if Lord of the Rings original trilogy, which everybody's universally loved, if that came out now, people would complain about it.
Oh, so totally, because it's not accurate to a lot of the source material.
They've cut out this character from
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah,
it'd be like hashtag release the Tom Bombadil cut.
Yeah, but because it came out kind of pre-social media, it's just like, Lord of the Rings is great, and it is great.
Yeah, and even some of the stuff since then, like, you know, some of the Peter Jackson stuff, like the massively long King Kong film, that was kind of pre-proper social media.
I love that King Kong film.
I think it's an alright film, but that could have like had that cinema reaction where first weekend everyone goes, it's too long. And it's like this, and this, and then it just drops off, kind of thing. Where otherwise it seemed to do okay.
But yeah, it's a shame that's not going ahead. I assume as well, J.J. Abrams has got something else in the works.
Yeah, he normally does.
He's always got something going on, hasn't he?
Something up his little sleeves.
Yeah, some other sci-fi project to get his hands on and disappoint fans in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Oh, he's all right, isn't he? Really?
I wonder if he's doing the 4th Star Trek. He probably is, isn't he?
I don't think the 3rd one was directed by him.
Oh, okay.
And I think the 3rd one was mostly written by Simon Pegg.
Right.
And I think they got someone else to direct it. Don't quote me on that. But so maybe he's kind of like handed over, because I think he did The Last Jedi instead of the 4th Star Trek. Is that right?
He did Force Awakens.
Yeah, but he also did
Rian Johnson did Last Jedi.
Oh, not Last Jedi. What's the last one? Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. Rise of Skywalker, which he was pulled on at last minute instead of Colin Trevorrow, was it?
Yeah, because
he did that weird film about like a boy who like murders people or something. I don't know. I don't actually know anything about it at all.
Although the Colin Trevorrow has got a new film coming out.
He has.
Or out at the time of...
It will just come out at the time of recording, and hopefully our Silver Screen Project episode will be out too.
Yes.
So go back one in your feed and you should find it there.
Yeah.
And you can hear all about our thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. I almost forgotten the name.
I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom that we're going to record after this episode.
Dominion. Is there a joke about minions or something there?
Jurassic World Dominion.
That's what I was thinking. It's like Jamaican minions or something like that. I don't know if that's really
anyway.
So apologies.
The second news I've got from Eurogamer.
Oh yeah, I quite like Eurogamer. Actually.
I was going to make a joke about it, but
oh no, I follow them on YouTube. They're based in like the south of England.
Oh, so are we.
I know. They've got some good YouTube. Well, they had some good YouTube content. I don't really. Yeah. Anyway.
Right, okay. So Project Moorcroft is Microsoft's plan to pay devs to make demos for Xbox Game Pass.
Right.
So Project Moorcroft, it's basically going to be a way of people who've got Xbox Game Pass to get a bunch of demos.
Right.
So they're going to pay a bunch of devs to make these demos, and then the ones that are popular, I presume, will then get made into full games.
Yeah. So like little taster things. Okay. That's
it seems like it kind of surprises me that that's not already kind of in place.
The thing that's like the immediate flaw I can see with that is that, as most people know, it takes a fucking long time to make a game.
Yeah.
Like some of these big budget games are like twice as long as a film production.
Yeah.
You know? And they crunch and they squeeze the blood, sweat, and tears out of thousands of people. And all I'm thinking with this is that like an amazing thing comes out from like a couple of people, like a small studio, and everyone's like, great. And then they're like, okay, well, you can play the full game in 3 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And then by that point, it's kind of lost its kind of momentum
So
a little bit.
It's gonna roll out next year, so there's a bit of time to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, get people. I suppose if it's a super short demo, that might not take too long.
They seem to be focusing on like indie devs. And it's one of those that like it'll be really good for these indie game makers to get their game known and like making money. But then if it's super popular, then most of the money's going to go to Microsoft as well.
I suppose it might almost just be like a recruitment drive in a way, like a public recruitment drive as well. But it's interesting. I'm just being cynical about it there, but yeah.
I think generally it'll be a positive thing for indie gaming.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Game Pass has been super popular, and it's I don't know how much you know about it, but you can effectively get like I think thousands of games.
I mean, I've got PlayStation, so I'm not familiar, but PlayStation Plus.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
thing.
So PlayStation Plus, you get 2 to kind of 5 games a month, and as long as you stay subscribed, you've got access to them. You can play them.
Actually it was FIFA 22.
Yeah.
I've
downloaded
last month,
it,
so I downloaded that because I was like, I haven't had a FIFA game in like 10 years.
And then realistically, you know, you'll probably stay subscribed, and that's the incentive there. But they've recently unveiled, I think it starts this month, it's a tiered system of PlayStation Plus,
of course,
where it starts, the most basic one is slightly cheaper than the current one. It's basically the same thing, and then the next one up is like a Game Pass, so it's loads of back catalogue, and then the one above that is PS1 and PS2 and PS3 games as well.
Oh, nice.
So it should be like almost that, which is one of the big drives of Game Pass as well.
A lot of I think most PS1 and PS2 games don't work on PS4.
Yeah, they don't. And there's a couple that have been remastered, like Shadow of the Colossus and some of the really big hitters. But if they are able to, and it seems like they should, like, you know, a lot of it's just like they don't want you to be able to do it because they can't. It's like, how can we make money off this? We can't just give it to you.
I have got like I've got like 100 PS1 and PS2 games at home. I've got a PS2 still like hooked up to my TV, but it's not working exceptionally well because it's like 15 years old.
I've got the same, and I haven't tried it on this TV because I didn't realize I could plug it in. I figured out kind of. But I've got about maybe 10, 15 PS2 games. Like I got rid of a load of them, but I kept like the ones that I.
I've never really got rid of any.
There was no trading in games has like always been just a complete waste of time. But if you had loads and you wanted like a single game, it's like it's kind of worth it.
I had to actually buy a new wire for my PS2 to make it work a couple of years ago because former guest of the pod Kane, when we lived together, pulled the TV stand out from the wall. And the PlayStation, like, 'cause it was wired, fell down behind the back, and one of the wires, like,
shit. Okay,
so I had to buy a new wire for that.
Thanks,
so thanks, Kane. If he's listening,
the upgraded PS Plus was in its working title was Project Scorpio, and one of our friends who is interested in being on the pod but hasn't been yet. I suggested to him, we had a conversation about him doing a report on that. I don't know how much content there is, and then it got announced while we were discussing it, and it kind of missed the boat there a little bit. But you know, who's to say? If there's an interesting story, he might come on at some point and do that. But yeah,
cool.
Related. So it's all related.
It's all related. Everything's always related. We are the masters at relating anything to anything.
And I think that'll be it for that.
Shall we get into episode 2 of the White Rabbit Project?
Yes.
Jailbreak.
I wrote Jailbreak, and then I couldn't remember if that was the name of the title or if that was just the thing that happens at the start, because it turns out it's both.
There's maybe not as many jailbreaks as there should be.
No. And okay, so for people who haven't listened to our first episode, it's effectively a spin-off of Mythbusters, as Lewis said at the start.
Yeah, the difference compared to Mythbusters is they would try and find a common myth and prove it wrong.
Yes, whereas this is more taking examples from
real stuff.
When it's the first episode was pop culture superhero stuff, and they were trying to make real-world equivalents for the most part. Whereas this is looking at things that happened and either rating them or seeing if the thing that happened could happen. Is that right?
Yeah. This episode really, it's like the first episode, like, was quite cool in that it's like, let's make some superpowers. So it had like, you'd fly, you'd freeze ray, you'd do all that. This episode, Jailbreak, I was like, oh, they're going to test different ways of breaking out of a prison.
They do shit all in this episode.
It's
a clip
do.
show, and this should have been
in
the middle of the season. This should have been in the middle of the season because the first one was okay, as we said. We had our criticisms.
I can't remember what I rated it.
I have no idea, like 4 or 5. Like I'm not going to say early on because we want you to listen through to the end. But this is at least half as bad as that.
So the Google description of White Rabbit Project, Kari Byron, Tory Bellici, and Grant Imahara investigate events from pop culture, science, and history.
That's the one thing. They also stole our logo, our slogan.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So yeah, Kari, Tory, and Grant, who were on Mythbusters.
2 out of 3 are bad, in the famous words of Meatloaf.
Meatloaf them.
I Meatloaf them. 2 out of 3 of them anyway.
Yeah, there's one season on Netflix got cancelled after one season.
Yeah, was it like 2016?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Season's got 6.9 on IMDb. I forgot to look up what this episode has on IMDb.
It doesn't matter. Let's guess 4.
No,
it'll be like 5.5.
I'm gonna quickly.
It's not gonna be. It can't be. It was okay.
The first episode was 6.7.
It was interesting in that there was some good little stories, but I don't know about you, Lewis, but at least half of these I'd heard before.
Yeah, this was 7.1.
Okay, well,
this is
I
the
have no faith.
Third highest rated episode of the series.
That's good, yeah. And we watched. I think the highest one was the first episode.
No, that was rated lower.
Oh, that's so weird because it must have been at the time when I put the spreadsheet together.
Oh yeah,
because I remember it was super. Anyway, it was up there at one point, but who knows? So, anything else before we get into?
I think let's get straight into it.
So we get kind of like, the very first bit is like an opening that's kind of like.
It's just them doing various experiments. Them doing
stuff,
like Kari Byron, Tory Bellici, Grant Imahara.
And I don't remember it from last time, but I think we did get it, which says a lot about this show. But it was quite cool. It was like a bit slick and all that. And then it's like 1998, and it's like a cinematic I've put here. It's effectively like an opening.
Yeah,
scene,
in the first episode they had like a mugging and a superhero turn up.
But in that, it cut away to it being a camera thing because I guess that's fictional, whereas this is a real story. And I don't know where it is. It was in America somewhere.
Yeah.
They're kind of like hillbilly kind of characters. And this
I've written mum's a redneck.
Yes, like rednecks. And this guy called Jay Sigler, is it?
Jay Sigler.
He's in jail and he's calling his mum.
He's like, one of my friends got killed. Now we're outnumbered. I'm not going to last in here very long.
Yeah, and it's kind of like weirdly like stereotypical. There's like everyone's looking at him while he's on the phone. And this like big hench black guy's like almost like rubbing up behind him, like
he's like gonna be long.
Yeah, and it's like
and then he says to his mum like, pick up the eggs and put them in the basket.
Yeah, and the thing that I quite like about this, there's kind of a parallel with in the mama's house. There's a bird in a cage and there's a cat like pouring in it.
Yeah,
and they try and do like a bit of a metaphor thing where they cut between.
They do,
and it's it's okay. And yeah, he's talking in code, and then there's a guy called Shotgun Charlie. And another guy called Big Rig Mick.
There you go. And they're breaking into like a lorry.
I think they're stealing.
What do they call it in America? What do they call a lorry in America?
18-wheeler or a big rig, sometimes they call it, which is, I guess, why he's called Big Rig Mick. They steal this car, and it's like Optimus Prime. It's like a big thing.
Yeah, a lorry.
18-wheeler. And they're driving like super fast, and then behind them they've got the mama, and she's in like a yellow sports car?
Yeah.
And they drive up to the prison, break through the wall, like the gate, don't they?
Yeah, and then that's where
then it cuts. One thing I noticed immediately, when they rob the truck, they wear balaclavas. When they break into the prison, they don't have balaclavas. So immediately I was kind of being very
See,
critical of
I
this.
thought when they broke into the truck, one of them pulled their balaclava off, and I was thinking it's always so dumb in films when people do that.
Yeah,
Like, it's the
we've
entire
talked about
point.
stuff on this before.
Yeah, well, Lazarus Project,
which, funny enough, is probably out now. The new series.
Oh yeah, we will do that.
I think I've seen it on my Now TV. So
oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get to Kari, Tory, and Grant introducing the episode, being like, "Hey, there's we're gonna do jailbreaks, and we're gonna base them on real jailbreaks."
Yes, and they've got a criteria.
Yeah,
as they always do, which they rate incredibly badly throughout. And I
Oh,
don't even
yes.
know if they rated some of them because I didn't write it down.
I've got ratings for everything.
You've got ratings, like as in individual.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I must have missed some of them. But it is number of escapees, which obviously varies quite a bit and
Yeah.
isn't really a fair way of judging, I would say.
No.
But hey, time on the run. So how long they're escaped for
Yeah.
before they're recaptured. And the degree of difficulty,
Yeah,
which is the one that I didn't get all the ratings for, and I found to be the most kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
really.
so like, firstly, the number of escapees, a lot of these jailbreaks is just we want to get this guy out.
Yeah, a lot of them is
Which
one,
is-
so it's
yeah.
not really
Time
comparable.
out of prison, I don't really think factors into the jailbreaks. It's got nothing to do with the jailbreak,
No,
does
you're
it?
absolutely right. And some of them, they're like, oh, it was 15 minutes and it was bad. Some of them are like, oh, it was 66 months and it was bad. And it's like,
yeah,
if you're judging it on that, you have to judge them fairly.
yeah.
It's
The
pointless.
difficulty, which is a fair criteria,
Yes,
but is very subjective.
it is.
And when you've got these hosts, subjectivity is bad.
Yes, because they don't spend any time on it. I know it's not really the most important part. It feels like it is probably. To
They
both
don't
of us.
discuss it. There's just the one person who's done like the report.
It's a script,
on it,
isn't it? They're
is
just like,
we're gonna give
hey.
it this.
And in the last one, there was a couple of bits where they were arguing against each other, but it was very fake. And it was like, hey, I thought that was this. And it's like, in this, it's
Yeah.
just like, it's just presenting.
Here's the
script.
rating.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we get back to the story of this mother driving through the fence.
Yeah.
The lorry goes through, they start shooting.
Yeah. The guy who they're getting, Jay, is in the yard. He's like, it's not for exercise. And he's like, waiting.
Yeah, and him and the two guys that stole the lorry all jump in the sports car.
Yeah, there's like
and
a
they drive
shootout
away.
of sorts. It's not really.
Yeah, and they drive away.
And the prison is so. I mean, it's not a real prison, obviously.
it's so like low security.
It's so low security. It's like a small yard with like a chain link fence, and there's guards out. There's more guards outside than there are inside.
Yeah,
I know it's
It's
just
like-
an
it's
example,
like-
but
like I'm trying to think. Like if you walk past like a school, it's
Yeah.
got more protection than this prison.
yeah,
like
it's not, and it's not a great plan. It's not a bad plan. But
it
it's not.
works.
It works. Apparently, he was out for 24 hours.
Yeah, they all got found, and the
Oh
mother
yeah, the mum like turned on him.
turned on
didn't
him and like then got less time. And he ended up spending in prison longer than he would have if he'd just
she?
stayed.
Of course, yeah.
Do you know in Germany it's not illegal to break out of prison?
Right.
You don't have anything added to your sentence if you break, because they say it's human nature to want to be free. So if you
Surely that's like added incentive to try it, though, isn't it?
yeah, if you've got like a 5-year sentence, you break out after 2 years. When they recapture you, you just go back in for another 3 years. And I kind of get that.
I get it. It's very kind of
It's also
Yeah.
like
Sensible.
like much of Europe, it's got a far lower reincarnation rate than America.
reincarceration.
Yes, that too.
I mean, in America, all those kind of gospel preachers, they were pretty good at reincarnating people.
So yeah, they go straight into the ratings with this. I didn't realize that this was going to be one of the 6
Oh
things.
yeah, it's short as fuck. Like this is a 40-minute episode, and this one's done within 5 minutes.
Yeah, and the last one. So each time, I guess they're going to do 6 things.
yeah,
They did
I
6,
think
and
so.
they did-
Yeah.
So they said they got 1 escapee.
Yep.
They were free for 24 hours.
Yeah. And
And
I didn't get the difficulty.
The
What was
difficulty was 3 out of 10. They didn't say it; it just flashed up on screen, and I had to rewind.
Yeah, see, this is a lot of this. I was making notes and listening and looking up and
Yeah.
stuff because it's quite an audio-based kind of thing.
So yeah, whilst I don't necessarily agree with the criteria, I think that's actually fair ratings.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the prison, then 3 out of 10 makes sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So then they go on to the next one. It's Tory.
Yeah, and this is the one that we see throughout. This is
yes.
In the last one, there was a couple that they cut back to, and this is the main kind of bulk of the episode.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And I'm going to say straight off the bat, this is not a jailbreak.
That is true as well. Yes, it's an escape.
It's an escape from an oppressive
regime.
Yeah. Fair enough. If you want to do escaping from oppressive regimes, cool. But this episode is specifically jailbreaks.
You know what they probably should have called it? Great Escapes.
Great Escapes, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is escaping from East Germany.
And if they were going to do that, then they could have taken away maybe that first shit one and put in, there's like an amazing story of like, I can't remember which country it's in, but it's like the castle, and it's like it was the officers' POW camp in a castle, and they made like a glider and like escaped like that. Yeah. It's like that is and try that as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it almost immediately. But...
So before, they'll do their ratings, but I immediately think this one should be disqualified because it's not a jailbreak.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It's a great escape, and obviously escaping from East Germany. Fair reason.
There's two of them that are the same then almost. Well, I suppose one of them's a prisoner of war camp. Yeah.
But anyway,
1979 East Germany, isn't it? You said.
Yeah. So Gunter Wetzel.
Yeah.
Who they interview off and on.
Yeah, he comes in. He doesn't speak in English. So they keep having like an American translator, which is kind of annoying.
Basically, him and his friend want to build a big hot air balloon to get their families out of East Germany, which is fair enough.
Yeah, and basically this guy, Tory, is taking it upon himself to recreate this using as similar materials as he can. Yeah. And he's got this guy, Bob Romaneshki, I think he's called. Yeah. Who's like a balloon expert.
I'm a balloon expert.
And he seems quite fun. We don't get that much of him, annoyingly.
No, so he's going through like how hot air balloons work, which I found a bit interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realise they fill up the balloon with cold air first.
Yeah, they have a big fan. They just blow air into it. It's like 2/3 cold air or something like that.
Have you ever been in a hot air balloon?
I haven't. I would. I've got a bit of a thing about heights, and it kind of came out of nowhere about 10 years ago.
Right.
And I don't really know why, but I'm not like it depends on the situation. I think with that I'd be okay with it. Like I'm fine flying. I know that's quite different, but it's also other people going near edges, so maybe a hot air balloon wouldn't particularly work well.
Everyone's by an edge all the time.
Yeah. You're not clipped in at all, are you? Maybe you are. Maybe you're clipped in on like a little safe...
like amateurs.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking me personally.
You're really clipped in right now.
No.
He's going to push Lewis out of his chair.
So yeah. They're going through the different like flames they have as well.
Yeah.
One's like a bigger flame and one's like a hotter flame. I don't know.
I think remember. Basically that the hot air kind of it isn't fully held by the balloon. It either leaks out the bottom or it just goes through it kind of.
Yeah.
So if you don't keep topping it up with hot air, it ends up the air cools down. That's what it is, isn't it? So the air cools down, which means it slowly descends. So if you don't top it up enough, if you turn it off, basically it will just deflate effectively.
Yeah.
And they talk about the basket's normally made from wicker.
Yeah.
Because it's strong and it's light. It takes something like 16 weeks to weave it all or something like that, he says. And they're like, but these guys didn't use that because they didn't have access to it.
Yeah, they say they didn't have time or materials. That's to do in secret.
Yeah.
And it takes 10 minutes to fill the balloon.
Yes. And it's like not quiet as well, which it still wasn't with this one. So I don't know how they
Tory sets himself the challenge of rebuilding this. And credit to him, he's the one host in this episode that does anything.
Yes, I think this was the easy episode where they were like, to be fair, it wasn't a cheap episode. Like some of the recreations, there's helicopters.
There's so many recreations.
But there's multiple balloons in this.
Yeah.
Unless they use there's at least 2 balloons in this. And there's a helicopter. Okay, it's not super, and there's a big rig knocking a thing over. Like it's not cheap. But it feels cheap because we're cheated because they don't do anything. It's a clip show but like they've made the clips for this. It felt very strange watching it.
So they're building.
Well, he gets to go in a balloon, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he's like with this Bob Romaneschi or whatever, and he's like, "Woo, I'm in a balloon." And then he speaks to the guy, and then he starts making it, doesn't he, with the materials?
Yeah. So he does like a test run with these propane tanks. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, the flame's not big enough."
Yes.
And realizes he's as he's doing it, he's going through the process that these Germans are going through. And he puts the tank up, the propane tank upside down,
right,
so that there's more pressure on the stuff coming out, it's hotter, and it creates a bigger flame.
And then he talks as well, doesn't he, about the platform is instead like it's a flat wooden platform that has metal framing and then ropes as barriers.
Yeah,
it looks like a mini like wrestling ring.
It does.
Do you know what I mean?
And it seemed they mentioned like it seems like it'd be struggled to fit 8 people in there.
Yeah, he does like a little walk, and it's like 4 people across, so everyone's standing next to each other.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess half of them are kids, so they don't take as much space.
So you just dangle them off the edge, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, he does the stuff with the stove and the burner, and he's using as similar materials, he says, as we can. And then that's where he goes through all the gas kind of stuff. And then we're off to a different jailbreak almost immediately.
Yes, so we go to France, 2007 on Bastille Day.
Yeah, so he talks about Bastille Day, Grant. And I was like, oh, so it's like a historic one. And then he's like, 2007. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And
they even mentioned like the Bastille Day, like was when people went into a prison.
And I thought it was going to be the story of the Bastilles being charged or whatever.
So they're at Grasse prison,
and it's this murderer guy, isn't it?
Who's Pascal Payet.
Yeah, and he's been in there since 1997, so he's 10 years into his sentence. Yeah. And he says that the jailbreak was done in under 10 minutes.
Yeah, which is impressive.
Like, this was one of the cooler ones, I thought.
Yeah, I quite like it. So, like, it sets up, like, the guards at 6 o'clock give him his food, and he's, like, getting unchanged. He's just in a vest and his
he's
like,
taking his jumpsuit thing off prison.
And by pants, I mean British pants, not American pants.
Yes.
He's just got his
tiny
whiteys.
They love talking about that, and at one point Kari's like, ugh, stop talking about his pants, and it's like it's just a man in his underwear. Like,
there is a different. I've always in America, if someone's just in their underwear, they're seen as like naked in America, from what I've seen on TV.
Yeah,
whereas like
I suppose so. Yeah,
like it's not as much like that here.
Oh, we're always in our pants when we're recording.
Yeah, so I mean, I reckon a lot of my friends have seen me in my pants.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
and Anyway, so his friends turn up to this like helicopter hire place.
Yes.
And hijack this helicopter. They've got a gun to the pilot and everything. Fly low altitude towards the prison, so they're not on radar. Reaches the prison and lands on the top, so they've literally got there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, they've done it really, really quickly, and they've hijacked the helicopters. They've got the pilot is under gun.
And weirdly
what do you call it? Gunpoint, at gunpoint, under gun.
Weirdly, they say here that like the guards can't shoot at them until they shoot first,
because it's a hostage situation.
I was like, that's a weird rule.
Because also, I guess you've got to someone's got to make the decision about whose lives are worth more.
Yeah,
and I guess the prisoner escaping is worth not. And I think this is true, but I'm saying this is what they think is not worth killing the innocent person.
Yeah,
and I think there is
he's also a murderer. If he then goes and does some murdering again,
I mean, yeah, but they don't want to shoot this hostage. But it reminded me, this one, of like in GTA 5, you can do these heists online.
Oh yes, I've watched like Let's Plays,
and it's like a cool co-op like cinematic thing.
Yeah, they are cool.
Yeah, you can. There is a Prison Break type one, and it reminded me a little bit.
Yeah, I think
I've
seen.
Everyone's got their roles and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Rooster Teeth.
I thought it might be them. Yeah,
they've done, but they also started creating their own heists where like they take turns and like in person they'd get everyone in a room. They'd have like the map of the island and be like, right, here's what we're gonna do.
Oh, and they're just in like free play kind of thing, aren't they?
Yeah. But it'll still be like, right, you need to buy these vehicles, you need to do this and do that. And like and they'd have to like write an escape plan out and everything, and not everyone survives. And I think because they did all the heists, they still needed more content.
Like,
but it's quite good fun when you have.
That's unique as well as
and it's just like, oh, whose turn is it to create a heist? But yeah, so these guys who are in the helicopter have like these saws that they cut the hinges off doors.
He has a name like a gas powered something, but they're circular saw kind of things.
And they walk down to Pascal's cell, and there's no guards or anything.
Yeah, and they say, despite him being a known escape artist who has escaped using helicopters before, he is situated on the top floor of the prison, and there's no guards. And that seems very convenient.
Yeah.
And there's an escape later that has similar conditions, but they grade it very heavily down because of this help.
Yeah.
They didn't do that for this one. So again, lack of consistency.
Oh, yes.
And they get him out in his pants, take him up the stairs, put him in the chopper, fly him back. And
within 20 minutes, he's gone.
He's gone. And
that's the end of the second.
That's the end of the episode. See, thank you for listening.
It's the end of the second Jailbreak.
Yes, which this is the 2 jailbreaks. Yeah,
well, we've had 2 jailbreaks.
It was one person. It was Taiti Waiti Paella, or whatever it's called, Paella.
Pascal Paella.
He called him Paella a few times, like Paella. He was out for 2 months. Is that right?
Yeah.
And
which I think. That means the jailbreak is successful, right?
I think it's a yes or a no.
Yes.
Did they escape successfully? There's one later where they get found on the way out.
Yeah.
That's a no.
That's a no.
It should be a yes/no criteria.
This 2 months, like him going back into prison has no bearing on the quality of this jailbreak.
Of course it doesn't. It's ridiculous.
It just means he's like not kept a low profile.
I don't think when we do the end bit, we need to consider that at all.
No, I think it's bullshit.
Okay. And what's the difficulty? Because I didn't. I just wrote very
8 out of 10 because they need to get the helicopters. They've time constraints.
Yeah,
and I was like,
but also he hired them from prison. They say, which I know that people do lots of stuff from in prison, but I have no idea how the fuck that happened.
No.
I guess the meetings that
it's our little secret as somebody who's escaped from prison.
All right, Pascal.
Hey, don't use my real name on the pod.
Mr. Paella.
Yeah, 8 out of 10. I think maybe a bit high, but it was a fairly difficult one.
Yeah. No, I think that's all right. Yeah. I mean, I mean, if the first one's 3, then that one, 8 makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not against it. And then we go back to the hot air balloon. And they do a recap.
Back to the bag of hot air. And there's a balloon there as well.
So we've gone back to the jailbreak that's not breaking out of any jail.
Yes.
And they kind of
it's the jail that is the oppressive Soviet regime. And they keep talking about those darn Russians.
They really do take a classic like American propaganda stance on like the Soviets.
And that's probably why it's in it so much, because Grant is like,
it's a very I
love motorbikes and I hate
it's
Russians.
A very like flag wavy episode.
Yeah, I mean, he literally, they call it like the freedom balloon.
They call it the freedom balloon constantly, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, East Germany was a shit place to live, but like, it's not a prison,
and it's not an American propaganda machine. I mean, I guess I can see where he's going with it, because he was escaping to the West, and it's,
yeah, but West Germany.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's decided to, because they need to create an engine, like a fan for the cold
the filling up part, isn't it, at the start? Yeah.
So he gets a used motorbike and starts ripping it apart.
Yeah.
So he said they're going to use that because that's what the Germans used.
Yeah. And he uses the back wheel and he adds on extra safety stuff and
he cuts off the back wheel and turns it into a propeller.
And he's like, I'm putting extra safety stuff that they didn't have. Okay.
Because we're going to copy them, but not exactly.
No. And then there's a whole bit with the cloth they're getting the cloth, and so they go round to the places getting cloth from different places.
Yeah. Did this happen to you? But like,
there's not subtitles in all of
right.
this.
It's like, they do this whole recreation of these 2 German guys going and buying fabrics, and there's like a whole like
there's
3 or 4
a
minute
tense bit though,
and they have like a back and forth with this shop owner, and we only get subtitles for like 2 lines.
Yeah,
and they're just talking back and forth in German with no subtitles.
and basically they're saying, the bit that I did get was they're like, we're a sailing club for young children.
Yes.
And then the woman's like, and then she walks out the room, and then whoever's doing the voiceover is like, it was really tense. And then she comes back in, and then she talks for like 2 minutes.
She's come back in with like her boss or something.
Yeah, and then they're talking, and then it's just like they all go, phew, and we're like, I guess she said it was fine.
Yeah, like, I guess this must be a Netflix problem.
Yeah, I think it was like the automatic subtitles.
Yeah,
didn't
but
pop
this
up
is a
kind of
Netflix
thing.
show that's been out 6 years.
I've literally written no subs for the dramatic bit where she tells them.
Yeah,
And apparently they repeated that over and over in different places.
So
and I have
suspicious.
listened to a podcast talk about this before.
Right.
And I do remember this part being, this is one of the tenser parts they talk about where, they did this. And then Tory says, then they hand stitched them all together, and then it shows them using sewing machines.
Yeah.
And I know.
And then he's like, he tries to put it apart. He's like, wow, this is really strong. And it's like, yeah, that's not how the Germans did it, is it?
No, but it shows them using sewing machines as well in the flashback.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't really know what was going on there. I guess using a sewing machine is still kind of it's not hand stitching, is it? No.
So the freedom balloon
This is when they
now
dub it the
done.
freedom balloon, I think.
But they say they can't fly untethered because it's not up to regulations.
It's like the FAA, American Air, American
FAR.
Something about Airline Association.
Yeah.
Federal Aircraft Association, it probably is.
Yeah, and then they get it going and it tips over.
I don't think they do that until...
I've written here, balloon tips over just like the Germans.
No, they don't do that until way later. We've got 2 more before that, so I don't know how you managed to do it.
Right, okay.
Maybe there is a bit where they do something there, but... There is the French soldiers one.
I think it does turn over and then they move on.
Oh, maybe it clips over. Yeah, maybe it's like a little preview. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so now it's Kari.
Yes.
Everyone's favourite host. Who talks about a World War II prisoner of war camp and says how they're like, it's a documentary because they filmed everything, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And they snuck in, so she gives a bit of background, Nazi control over France, 2 million French soldiers.
There's a really weird line she says here where she says, it was the largest escape attempt in the history of World War II. And I was like, that's only like a 6-year period. Like the largest escape attempt in World War II.
Yeah.
Is a perfectly good sentence.
Yeah, I think
in the history of World War II.
Yeah, it's like
a bit of a.
It's implying that there was a longer period of World War II, and there was enough for there to be a history and a.
And it's like, the biggest escape attempt in history in World War II.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, effectively, there's an officers' camp, isn't it? Basically, and photography was banned, death by firing squads.
Yeah, but they seem to be fairly okay.
So there's quite a cool bit where they talk about how they had a dictionary, they had it hollowed out, they had a camera in it, and they do wind up camera stuff, and they'd have it kind of awkwardly under their jacket as if they were like holding a giant book, really obviously, and filming, and it shows this guy doing it. And I've written, well, who's filming the guy who's filming it?
There's so much footage of people
they must have had 2, right? That's
real footage of people filming.
But also a lot of, I'm not saying I don't believe it, but it's unbelievable. There's a bit where they talk about documents, and it shows real close-ups of these documents with they had to set up a camera, like POV, with someone's hands in the, like it is like incredible if it's real. I've never heard of this before. I don't know why they make it up. There's
also a funny bit here where Kari decides to explain to the audience the German invasion of France, and it's very obvious that she is not a historian.
I don't think any of them...
And it's like, do we really need to be told about the German invasion of France?
This is the part where she talks about how the whole French army were taken and stuff like that.
It's like, who doesn't know about the German invasion of France?
Well, I mean, people know that America went and saved everyone. That's what they know.
Yeah, but also Americans joke constantly about French surrendering immediately.
Exactly. That's what they know. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they talk about how they had a mail system where they'd sneak in contraband,
and she's like, if it was written like this, they'd throw it out the window, and it just shows like a normal parcel. So I don't know what the.
Oh, it was addressed as. But also, like,
and then they'd like distract them out the window.
It's
or
not
something.
about how the prison isn't that for like a Nazi prison or war camp.
Oh yeah, they
receive mail.
It's the officers' camp.
Yeah,
so, but yeah, they were receiving. So they'd get mail in, and then they'd be the ones sorting their own mail.
Yeah,
so they could throw it out the window, and it would get caught by somebody who would then distract it. It was.
Yeah.
It seems like a joke. There's something's Heroes, Holtz's Heroes or something. Hogan's Heroes. I don't know. Which is like this. It's like a sitcom.
I mean,
set in a prison camp.
It's essentially the film The Great Escape.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Or
maybe that's where the Great Escape came from. Oh no, didn't that? No, I'm not going to say it actually happened.
No, but also it also is a bit like Escape to Victory. The prisoner of war film camp with Pele in it. Pele, Bobby Moore, and Sylvester Stallone.
Right, yes. I do vaguely remember hearing about that, yeah.
But anyway, their plan is to dig a 300-foot tunnel under the thing to then escape. They come to a problem and they hit granite. It's very loud, so they put on a drama performance for the guards.
Yeah,
and again, I'm like, they could just do whatever they want here.
It's crazy because before that, it said they were doing the exercises just in front of the people tunneling.
Yeah,
they were just doing star jumps, and it shows them like all just doing like aerobics. It's like, so you were just allowed to do this, and the guards just wouldn't go past you.
Yeah,
and then they do like a whole performance. It reminds me of Tropic Thunder when he's made to like do like the performances. And like it's very silly.
It took them 4 months to dig this tunnel.
There's a funny bit here where the guards, they film themselves like breaking through, and then it cuts to a cinematic like recreation.
Yeah,
and the guards are like, "Hey, like look over there." And then they're like, but it was just some young lovers.
Yeah, it's like it's at night time. You got the classic spotlight. They think they've been found. It's a couple having a picnic.
No, they were like having sex, I think. It was like at night.
I think they were dressed.
Yeah, I know, but I think they were supposed to be like making out. I don't think they were having a picnic in pitch black.
They jumped up and ran off.
That's why, yeah.
And then all these people come out the tunnel,
and it turned out to be 132 overall.
Yeah, I think they only brought in that criteria for this specific jailbreak.
Yes, because it goes from like 2 families, which are like, I don't know, how many was it, like 8 people.
So it's like 1, 8, 1, 132.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much it, isn't it? They all just escape.
So they were caught a week later.
Well, 126 were recaptured. I don't know why they all stayed together.
Maybe they didn't.
I'm sure they didn't, but it sounds like within a week they were all found to be in someone's attic.
And because this was Kari's one, it's 10 out of 10 difficult.
It's very, very difficult. Yes, very difficult. I mean, yes,
I think there's another similar one later on that is a bit more difficult.
I think the other one is at least as difficult.
I think the one with this as well is that like these prisoners have got a lot of leeway.
Yeah, exactly. And they criticize the advantages given to the later one. It's
it's easy to get in the contraband. They only had to dig like basically under the gate.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they went very far. But it took them 4 months.
Yeah.
And there was
obviously fucking great effort, guys. Well done escaping a German prisoner of war camp.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It didn't do very well because most of them went back in.
But yeah, so that is the prisoner of war camp.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is, I think, I'd just about consider a jailbreak.
Yeah, no, I think that counts.
But I think that's right on the limit.
I mean, compared to
the fucking let's immigrate to another country.
Let's take a balloon ride. Right.
So the next one, we get Grant, and he's talking about El Chapo in 2015. Now, I remember when this happened.
I remember when this happened. I don't remember the details, but I remember.
I remembered seeing that CCTV footage that they show of him going down
just
his like shower,
calmly taking his shoes off. It's very funny.
Yeah. So basically, he's in Altiplano, Mexico's only maximum security prison,
or the most maximum.
Yeah, security, and like there is like shit ton of
It's got like anti-rocket walls. It's got like detectors of all sorts.
It's kind of like the prison in GTA.
Yeah,
like if you go near it, you get shot down.
I thought exactly because they're like there's a no-fly zone. There's like armored trucks around it. Yeah, it's exactly like that. And they
describe it as escape proof.
He's from a cartel that are known for digging narco tunnels.
Yeah,
they are tunnels under the border, basically
under the Mexican-American border,
which they would smuggle narcotics through.
Yeah, and they have the plan of don't dig out the prison, dig into the prison.
Yes,
which makes sense, and I think it's quite clever.
It is clever, and the cartel bought a square of land 1 mile from the prison.
Yep.
And they put up like a little shack and stuff, so they had an excuse to bring work stuff across to it.
Yeah.
And despite it being a mile away, they managed to get away with it for a long time.
Yeah, and they build a nice little system. So they've got like they've repurposed a motorbike so it can like attach to this rails they've built. Yeah. So it can bring back dirt.
It's
from
like
this
a mine
tunnel.
basically, and it's
and
a 32-foot
genius.
shaft. 32-foot shaft that goes down. Yeah, and they dig along, and they've got like a laser that's like satellite navigated.
Yeah, so they know there's something like 32 degrees north to the prison.
Yeah.
They've got a laser, and they just go that way.
And they just follow that. And it takes them about a year, and they get there, and then they dig up using the plumbing to navigate exactly where they're going. Yeah. And just end up right in his cell.
Yeah, and he just calmly walks down through the bottom of his shower and escapes. And I was like, that is a fucking great escape.
It's cool. Like, it's very cool. It's really cool. As one person, he was recaptured within 6 months, apparently.
Yeah, but that's fucking irrelevant.
It is. And they then go on this whole rant, basically, about how he was put on the ground floor, which is suspicious. Which, again, we didn't get minus points for the helicopter man being on the top floor earlier. They mentioned it.
Or the prisoner of war's being on the ground floor.
Or the prisoners of war. Well, why does it mean a ground? What, so that they can dig, you mean?
Yeah. Everyone's some great escape.
And he had a tracking bracelet, which was deactivated.
Yeah.
There was also anti-tunneling sensors, which had been continually set off by some public works nearby. Yeah. And it's been rumored that he paid for the works to start or whatever, bribed people. Effectively, he had help, which means apparently the difficulty is 5 out of 10.
Which is bullshit.
This is at least the 8 out of 10 from the last one. They found more solutions to problems.
Yeah.
These things didn't happen on their own. Someone had to sort them out. So
surely, like, the fact that to make this plan work, you have to bribe public officials to do work. You have to break these detectors, and you have to figure out a way to make him on the ground floor. Adds to the difficulty.
Of course it does. It's probably 9 out of 10.
I couldn't arrange to do all that stuff. If I was in this prison, I couldn't arrange for all that stuff to happen because it'd be too hard for me to do.
I think because he's a drug lord who is like the kingpin of a cartel, they're saying that makes it easier. And it does. But the actual scenario is still difficult. Just because he has solutions to it, I don't think it should take away from it.
No. So I agree.
No.
They did this one dirty.
And then we get 2 little mini examples for some reason.
Yeah.
That are both like Latin American, South American ones.
So yeah, they talk about a guy who
is it both Brazilian ones? I think it is, maybe.
Quite possibly.
Leading up to, yeah.
There's a guy who tries to escape in a suitcase.
Yeah, his wife or girlfriend comes to visit his prison. They're like, "Oh, your suitcase that you brought that's human sized is slightly heavier now. oh, there's a man in it, and there's a
Yeah.
picture, and it's like, ha ha ha.
And then there's another picture of a man who tried to dig a hole out of his shower.
I think they say he punched a hole in the wall.
Oh, really?
I don't really.
And there's a picture of him like half stuck
Yeah,
out. This.
and he's like cut. He's like,
Yeah.
it's not
He
nice.
needed to make a bigger hole there. But then they go into another case of Ronaldo in 2012.
Yes, in Brazil.
Did you notice that Ronaldo is played by the same guy who was broken out of the prison in the first clip?
Is that right? Yeah.
The mummy's boy.
Jason's not Jason Segel.
Not Jason Segel, no.
Jay Sigler. Is it the same guy?
I didn't look it up, but
you're pretty sure
it's the same guy.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
He's just obviously dressed up differently.
They made him look slightly more tanned.
Yeah, gave him some stubble. But yeah, anyway.
I'm sure he gave himself that stubble.
No, they gave it to him. His plan is that his attractive wife comes in.
And they're like, woo, conjugal visit. She got undressed, but not for him.
It was kind of weird. She just walked into his cell and it looked like they were just going to have sex. Is that how these prisons work?
So based on Arrested Development and Arrested Development only,
right?
The conjugal visits in that happen in a trailer within the prison, and they are taken there by a guard, and then the door's locked with their wife inside, and they're allowed to have sex for a certain amount of time, and then the guard comes to pick them up and takes them away.
Imagine if you had a certain amount of time and then you didn't finish.
You're like, hurry up in there, and you're like, oh no,
my wife's so much less attractive than she was when I came in here.
It's pretty much what happens in that, yeah.
But yeah, so
but I don't know if that's realistic, but I don't think it happens in the cell, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I don't think you,
But I think it is a factor in this story that his wife is attractive.
Yes, it is, but they go, whoa, she was so hot. And then she goes past the guard, she's like, woohoo.
But yeah, so she goes in, and instead of having sex, they switch clothes.
Yes. I don't know what her plan was afterwards.
I think after he escaped, she would have been like, hey, look, I'm not meant to be here.
Hey, he escaped. Go look for him, which is probably why And
then he walks out,
and he's dressed, and he's got like a terrible wig on.
And
he's like, I can't do this, and she's like, remember, you're all woman. And they try and have this like joke that goes throughout.
It's and he's struggling in his heels.
They all think it's really funny, like the people who are telling the story. Like
they walked up to these guards, and one of them like slaps her bum, and it's like, this is just all a bit cringy.
It's also like super like dated. It feels kind of like, haha, a man in woman clothes. That funny.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes that can be played for laughs and it's not horribly offensive. But
this is something that really happened.
I think because it happened, there's a level of humor.
But it's like, isn't it so funny that a man would wear women's clothes?
Exactly.
That is the funniest thing anyone's ever seen. A man wearing woman's clothes.
Yeah,
Can you believe it?
That are meant for a woman, but get this, it's not a woman that's wearing it.
Who's wearing it? Who's wearing it?
A man.
What? Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I kind of felt like, I know it's 2016, but that's
only 6 years ago.
I know, and things have changed a lot now.
And he basically gets on the outskirts of the prison, and two guards.
I think the thing that's funny about it is that it would be so obvious if his wife was this hot.
Yeah,
and we see the picture of him later.
A picture of him.
Like, that's funny because he looks nothing like her.
Yeah,
and and it seems so he gets through, and they make a joke like, only him and the guards know what happened. It's like, are they suggesting that he did something?
You know what, actually, I think I saw a news story like last week about a prison escape of like a mafia guy dressing up as a woman.
I think it happens. There was a thing in like Korea or Japan as well where that happened as well. I don't think it's like that. It's not common, but it happens every couple of years. Someone tries it. I think it was in Thailand as well. Someone wore a mask of like their daughter.
I can't find it. 3 days ago, Cute Chubby tried to escape a Paraguayan prison dressed as a woman.
Who? Cute Chubby.
Cute Chubby is his like gang name. He's Cesar Ortiz in Paraguay.
Yeah, see, I've got another one here where in Brazil again, a drug lord. This might start playing in your headphones. No, a drug lord escaped using a silicone face mask of his daughter.
Oh, that's weird.
So it happens quite often.
Yeah.
And then, that's the same one again.
So,
he was acting nervously. That's why they caught him.
So yeah, this one is one escapee again.
Yes.
He escaped for 15 minutes. So this one, I'm like, yeah, he failed.
Yes, that's why it's worth bringing up, but it doesn't need to be a category.
Yeah.
And the bit that we see, he's like walking out and they're like, hey, probably because they went in and found his wife in her underwear there.
So this one, they gave 2 out of 10 for difficulty. The fact that he failed surely means it's quite difficult.
Yes. I mean, the thing is,
to pass off
what
as
he should
your
have done
wife
is got someone who looked like him to come visit him in prison.
Yeah, like a twin sister or something.
I've only had his twin sister.
But yeah, I'd argue the difficulty is higher than 2.
Or
because it's hard to do.
Get someone to wear a mask of him going in.
Yeah. Like it's hard to do this, right?
Or
so it makes it difficult.
Get someone to wear a mask going in and then they just swap the mask.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways of doing it. Difficulty is high-ish, like 6.
Yeah, I think it's 6. It's just kind of weird. They're like, haha, it failed. So it's 2 out of 10 difficulty.
It failed, and he failed because he dressed as a woman and he's a failure. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah. And then we go back to the hot air balloon.
We do, yes.
And the hot air balloon, they've got it back up right. And it's come off the ground a bit. And they said in the actual case with the East Germans, it took them 28 minutes to get to West Germany, where they crash landed in a small town.
That's right, yeah.
And then they get to the criteria.
Yeah, so they rate the difficulty 10 out of 10.
Yeah, which I
think there's some fairness
I think that's
in there.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, also, first of all, like you said, it's not a prison, which means they have a lot of freedom to do stuff.
They can go out and buy fabric.
So I think I'd maybe knock one off that. So it's 9 out of 10, because if they were in a prison, they
wouldn't be able to do this.
They'd be getting like, uniforms or whatever, put curtains, They could go to a place and say we're sailors and we're making something.
Yeah, imagine trying that in a prison.
They're like, okay, it's like a landlocked prison.
Yeah,
like, these guards are fucking dumb.
It's 8 escapees.
Yes,
and again, I think the time was brought in for this one because they escaped forever
because they're talking to him on Zoom or whatever. And
ratings fair for their criteria. I don't agree with their criteria, and I don't agree this is a jailbreak.
No, and then they do the kind of scores on the doors.
Right, before we get into that, so there's 6 different escapes.
Yes.
They only do one of them themselves.
Yeah.
They talk about 5 and like dramatize them. But like Mythbusters, it was all, let's get our hands dirty and see if we can do this.
Yeah.
Week 1, they did like 5 of the 6.
They didn't do. I think they did 4 because they didn't do the.
They didn't do the flight, the Iron Man
and
suit.
the body armor, like the Boston Dynamics thing as well. They didn't do.
But
that.
they went into depth talking about them, and they did 4 of them themselves.
Yeah.
This they did 1, and I was just like, this is like meant to be the entire premise of your show.
That's what I mean. It feels like it should have been the 3rd or 4th, like somewhere in the middle.
I saw so it's 10 episodes. They released them all at once.
Oh, okay.
So you could just binge through it.
So you'd almost, the idea was that you were kind of hooked and you'd keep going. But hey, the scores on the doors. So they've given them little snappy names, which I wrote down. I assume you did as well.
Should we do theirs and then do ours?
Well, I think what we did last time is we went through them and kind of criticized as we went.
Okay.
And then did our own order. Oh, no.
No, I think that.
No, we actually rated as we went, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been hard to do this time.
Let's just go through once and then we'll try and agree on an order after.
Okay, so.
Number 6 was wardrobe malfunction, which was the Brazilian man who had to dress up in the hilarious women's clothing.
Number 5 was Mother Trucker.
Yes.
Which was the first one, driving into the prison and getting the guy dressed up as a woman in his previous life out.
Number 4 was just El Chapo. He didn't
title.
give it a name there.
Which was the digging underneath, walking him out. Number 3 was Get to the Chopper.
Good name.
Helicopter Pascal Paillet one.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, and then there's the last two, which are the ones which you would argue are maybe both not prison camps.
Also, the two like Go America ones.
Yes, they are a little bit, aren't they? So they end up giving number 2 to POW, and of course, the one they spent the most time on and had the real life man on the show. They gave number 1.
And like, if it was a story of great escapes, and that balloon escape was a great escape, and like, fair enough.
I do think the fact that they had the guy on means they have to give it the winner, really.
And because it's the only one they actually did themselves.
Yeah, of course.
It was always going to be number 1.
But I think like they've got some of this right. Like, I think 6 being wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
So if you say, let's say the balloon's out. Just for being purely...
I was going to say, I want to disqualify the balloon in our own rankings.
Disqualify balloon. So wardrobe malfunction is number 6. Number 5, yeah.
Yeah. I think that I agree with
think then Mother Trucker is probably still number 4.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Because it's a super simple plan. There's no actual planning there. They didn't even have to steal that truck. They could have got their own truck and taken the plates off. Do you know what I mean?
Number 3, I'd go POWs.
I think so, because they had a lot of leeway, and it seems like a fucking sitcom.
And the advantage is like they got a load of people out. But technically, a load of people could have walked out El Chapo's cell if they wanted to get a load of people out.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the fact that it's higher than that just because of that, I
think
agree.
that's 3.
So that's 3, and then we've got Get to the Chopper or El Chapo, basically, don't we?
Yeah, both of which had leeway from the guards potentially.
They did. I think that because they were both effectively probably I say they were both planned from the inside because El Chapo probably had plans in place, or at least had people who were wanted to get him out. Whereas Paella, whatever he's called, Pascal Paillet, he may have had some outside help in terms of maybe he had a murder group that wanted to get him back or whatever, or some gang. But it seems like we're led to believe that he planned it himself inside, which I think kind of puts it up there a little bit for me.
No, I was leaning towards the El Chapo one.
It's a more intricate, long-term plan. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think they're both great escapes.
I suppose the El Chapo one, you could easily just escape forever with that. Like, they're not going to look for you immediately. Yeah.
And I like the whole like the minecart motorbike thing, like buying a piece of land, and
I think they're different situations.
And getting out, digging up into his cell is pretty cool,
because it's kind of like, one is like you've got time and you're like, let's do this, whereas one is like, we've got no time, let's do it in 10 minutes.
The time really does help the helicopter one.
They're kind of, I don't really notice, but what's the other kind of factors in there? So what was the escape times? El Chapo was 6 months.
Yeah,
and I've got him here.
The French guy wasn't that long either, I don't think.
That was
1 week,
2 months.
2 months.
So in that case, I'm not
including them in my. I'm happy to put them tied
for first place.
Yeah, I think they're both equally like ingenious and brilliant,
and as you said, they're different for different things.
One,
if they needed to get El Chapo out immediately, they could have like rushed it.
Although
it's because one was not guarded and one was. If El Chapo's prison was less guarded, they probably just would have smashed in and got him,
they were both specifically designed for the prison area. The French one, it helped that there was a helicopter flying station a mile away.
Yes, and a helipad seemingly on the helicopter.
So I think they both benefit. I wouldn't say they were designed around where the prison was.
And they both worked perfectly for what they were supposed to. So I'm
happy to put them in tied first.
Yeah, and then the episode just ends, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just ends. And what did you think of that episode generally?
About halfway through, when I realised what they were doing, and they were just telling the story of this hot air balloon and then talking about some jailbreaks, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like,
I think I had the same. About 20 minutes in, I was
waste
like,
of my time.
Yeah. I'd watched it like immediately coming back from work, and I was like, Just gonna get it out of the way. I know it's not
Yeah.
gonna be that good.
I don't think the hosts were as annoying as the first episode.
We didn't spend as much time with
because
them.
they didn't really do anything.
No, and it was voiceovers, and it was
we see the most
scripted.
of Tory because he's the only one that actually does anything, and
Yeah.
he's not as bad as before. But yeah, it's just I think that like I think what went for the first one, despite disagreeing with them and stuff, is that I think the premise of the show was a fun idea.
Yeah, and in this one, it was really lost in like
They didn't know what this meant to be about.
They didn't keep the formula really.
Like half of it was like one of those what's that YouTube channel that does like the top 10?
Like Watch Mojo.
Yeah, half of it is like
a
a top 5 great escapes from Watch
Yeah,
Mojo.
yeah. No, that's exactly what.
And then the other half of the episode was him like telling a great patriotic escape from East Germany.
It was so all over the place, and I think I'm gonna give it like 4 out of 10, maybe even like a 3 out of 10. I'm not sure.
I'm gonna.
I enjoyed it more talking about it as I do with most of these things. I think the content was okay, but the presentation makes me lean towards a 3.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Yeah, I think I'll lean.
I was considering a 2, but I was like, I can't think of what I have given a 2. I think maybe my science project I gave a 2.
Yeah, I would love to revisit that at some point. I think that's a possible 100th episode.
I'd like to listen back to it rather than watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this episode a 3.
Okay, yeah, 3 for me as well,
hopefully next week they have a solid idea. And
I think I started the next episode without realizing it, kind of thing. It just carried on.
So episode 3 is crazy World War II weapons.
Oh yeah, that might be interesting.
And it's something that they can make and do themselves.
Make them, yeah. Okay, cool. So on to the next episode topic.
yes. Next
topic of the episode. So now it's time for
personal projects.
Now it's personal
projects.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that surprised me despite me putting it together last week.
I knew it. I knew
it was coming. Oh yeah.
So what have you been watching?
Yeah, there's no point doing the list. It's always watching, isn't it? No, actually, one thing that you've just reminded me. No, I've been listening to a lot of music in preparation for the world famous Glastonbury festival.
Glastonbury
is
that like the strawberry?
It's like the strawberry, and it's the correct way of pronouncing the English festival, at least according to all the American artists that go there.
Hello, Glastonbury.
It's good to be here, Glastonbury. No, I've been doing a bit of a Lewis and making lots of intricate playlists. Figured out who I'm seeing. Some clashes, which are slightly unfortunate, but nothing too dramatic there.
Speaking of which, actually, someone from my work said their sister was going to download this year. And so
that was just gone, I think, wasn't it?
I think it's this weekend.
Yeah, so some people might have. Yeah,
I think it's this weekend.
Maybe can you go early?
I think you can go on like Thursday, which is
today. So yeah, maybe I saw something.
But I had a look at the lineup, and headlining is Kiss, Iron Maiden, Biffy Clyro. I was like, I'd like to see two of the 3 of them. But I realized that like 4 of the bands that I'd like to see most were playing at the same time.
That's so annoying. Yeah.
Right. So I think I can't remember who the 4th one is, but Iron Maiden, Mastodon, and Funeral for a Friend are all on at the same time.
Oh, that's insane as well.
Right. I'm like, yeah.
Not all at literally the same time.
At the same time. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not going now. But yeah, anyway, Glastonbury.
No, I was just saying like so the only real clash is Idols, who are the UK kind of punkish band.
Yeah.
They're at the same time as Phoebe Bridgers. And normally in the past, I would have gone to Idols, but I've seen them before.
I'd go to Idols.
And they're local, like relatively speaking. So I've seen them a couple of times before, and I've never seen Phoebe Bridgers, so I'm going for that. But there's bands like Wet Leg, Confidence Man, Wolf Alice, Amel and the Sniffers, some great stuff. Foals, I'm really excited to see. I've got back into them.
Yeah, you've never been to see Foals.
I've never been to see Foals. No, there's a lot of good stuff. There's some stuff like Kendrick Lamar, who I'm getting to for the first time properly. I'm excited to see a big pyramid stage set.
We'll need to organise when we're recording around Glastonbury.
I know we will. Yeah. Hopefully there's no big films. Oh no, there are some big films coming out right around there, so that'll be fun to plan out. But yeah, other than that, I watched the first episode of Disney Plus's Ms. Marvel.
Ah, yes,
which
I have.
I assume you hadn't watched, which is why I think we wouldn't be talking about it. It wasn't one I was super excited for. I've not read Masters of Ms. Marvel. It was pretty good.
Nice.
It pulls in like a character that like a very, very minor character from something else, and you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Cool.
And it's that kind of the first Spider-Man film, like super low-key teen stuff.
I forgot it was coming out because
it
Obi-Wan's
comes out,
still on.
and it comes out on the same day, which is insane. Rather than doing Wednesday and Friday, no, they both come out on Wednesday. So I haven't watched the fourth Obi-Wan episode, but I have watched the first episode of Ms. Marvel.
Nice.
But either way, we'll talk about them another time. What have you been watching?
So like, I've been, I'm doing my music through history thing. That's taken up a lot of my time. I've watched Jurassic World, which the listeners have already heard my thoughts on. You haven't, but they have.
Yeah, it's a weird time loop situation there.
I've been watching more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Of course.
On to season 5 now, which is...
Of 6, is it?
Of 7.
7, yeah.
Back from the future.
Marty McFly style.
Yeah. It's got the Dove Cameron half season where she's Ruby. I feel...
I like how it plays into
I'm just
things.
looking forward to Graviton. Graviton is soon.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
You remember when I'd watched a couple episodes ahead of you.
You were ahead of me and you were like, you will never ever guess what happened.
Because there was lead ups to Graviton, because a lot of that is
the Gravitonian.
Gravitonian, and Ruby is being nominated by her mum to become this superhero, and it's like, or is it going to be Quake? And I'm like, you've got no fucking idea who's going to be Graviton.
Yeah.
Like, who is going to...
I'm so looking forward to that episode.
It's so
We
funny.
also recently had the episode where Fitz becomes like schizophrenic.
What's that guy called?
Talbot. General Talbot.
You know what? I think we've covered him in something recently.
Really?
You carry on talking. And
they had the episode where it's like the fear dimension stuff coming through.
Oh, that's what we were talking about with Fitz, with his
the framework
amazing...
Fritz, and it turns out it is just him. He's having like a breakdown.
That turn and Sky's Daisy's on the table, and she's like, Fitz, don't do it. Yeah, so
Christina completely forgot that it wasn't two separate people.
Yeah,
and I was like,
so good.
And I was like, it's the one person. It's the whole deal. So I've been watching a lot of that. Are you still looking up the Talbot guy?
I got a little bit distracted, but I think he was in Top Gun, the original Top Gun. Adrian Pastel. He was one of the people that's just the recruits that are just in the room that don't say anything.
Interesting. I'll have to.
Or he's the two that say incredibly homoerotic things to each other and then are never seen again. One of them literally says, "This makes me so hard," and the other one says, "I'll see how hard you are later," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we don't ever see them again, which is a real shame.
So there's a few films. I'm not going to spend too long on any. I'm just going to run through them.
Yeah, go for
because
it.
I haven't got too much to say. If you hadn't guessed, me and Christina watched The Internship, which is a 90-minute Google ad.
Yeah, it's
Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson,
and they're like, "We're going to be interns at Google."
Yeah,
Googles.
I watched Doolittle, which is terrible.
Yes,
we briefly
you spoke
about
that.
Person.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is bad.
Doing a weird accent, isn't it? Yeah.
I watched Rush.
You'd seen that before, right?
I had seen it before.
Yeah, because we spoke about it when we were camping and we were walking along roads and we were talking about a scene where someone's driving down roads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Driving down roads, yeah. It sounded better when I had it in my mind there.
So Chris Hemsworth, Daniel
Brühl, that's
where
right.
Nicky Lauda and James Hunt. Very good. And I watched The Bubble.
Yes, which I spoke about a little while ago. Yeah, what did you reckon? I mean, it's not great, but
I think it's one of those that it would make a really good sketch.
Yeah, it doesn't fulfill its kind of potential.
Yeah, but it was fine.
I watched it as a kind of hungover Saturday film, and it was pretty good for that.
Yeah,
the Daisy Ridley thing's pretty weird, right?
It is pretty weird.
I know I kind of spoiled it for you, but like, it's.
My general feeling when I left was that like Gus Khan had the right idea by running away from it and not enacting.
Did you?
So I think that's kind of when it got a bit dull.
When Leslie Mann gets her hand shot off, were you confused?
I thought she was holding something.
I was like, oh, this is like a prop thing. No, she's got a hand, and she's not in it until the end, and she has a robot hand.
Yeah. I also found it very funny that there's a football team staying at the hotel who Real Betis. They're wearing actual Real Betis shirts.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, why in their like personal time are this football team wearing their football shirts?
Because they were practicing in a big hallway.
Why are they
apparently rather than on the field?
And also, like when football teams train, they don't wear the shirts. They wear like a training kit.
And it's kind of like a pointless, weird relationship as well.
Yeah, I thought it was very bizarre.
One character I did like, the guy who's like the English guy who's the doctor, who's like in charge, but he is just terrible. And he's like quite like an effeminate camp guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like a bit of like quite skinny with kind of like big teeth. And he's got some just really weird lines that I just really enjoy.
Yeah,
I've never seen him in anything else.
It's a very bizarre film.
Looking back on it, it feels like a film that was made during COVID, and because of how like choppy and like badly put together it is. But yeah, I stand by it. I kind of enjoyed it.
I didn't hate it. I was just fairly indifferent to
it. No, fair enough. The last bit I was just going to talk about is, you may have heard of it. It's called Arcane. It's the animated series on Netflix.
Yes, I'm aware.
Which
Can't sound too familiar.
The next sentence is probably going to put you off. Maybe it is based on the League of Legends series, which you may be slightly familiar with.
You know that of our friendship group, I am the biggest LOL fan.
You're always lolling all the time.
Yes. Nobody else in our friendship group would even dare to challenge my title.
Nobody
as the
would.
Biggest fan of League of Legends.
Not canonically anyway. Not at this point.
Nobody can.
If I could tag someone non-verbally right now, I would do, and it would be you, of course.
Yeah,
because
of course.
But
like,
no, it's
so the only people that exist in our life are Kane, David, Amy, Hamish. Is that all I get?
I don't know.
I hope so.
And swiftly moving on. I mean, none of them listen to the podcast anyway, so it's fine.
Hamish does.
Yeah, he actually does, which is really nice. Hello, Hamish. Hi. Thanks for coming on last week. Really appreciate it.
Hamish, if you're listening to this, send us a message being like, oh, you guys.
Yeah, please do. And we'll read that message out on the next episode.
Yeah, we will.
And anyway, so it's vaguely based on it's a selection of the characters from that, but it's like the animation is, I would say, reminiscent of like a Spider-Verse. Like, it's
nice.
super high quality, slightly cel shaded, verges into kind of abstract stuff with like weird shit on the screen, like if someone's having a weird moment. And the combat fighting stuff is really cool and like looks almost like anime-ish, but like really detailed and stuff. It's like really intense at times. Like, it's not a kid's thing at all. Like
Right.
Children die. Like, it kind of skips around in time and moves forward through these people's lives. And the end of the first act is just like kids like hysterically bawling their eyes out as like people are being killed around them. Like, not overtly, not like Love, Death and Robots, like gory, but like emotionally it's like it's intense.
Nice.
But it's 9 episodes, and the first 3 or so episodes are the first kind of act, and then it kind of moves on. But
yeah,
I watched it kind of half like eating breakfast, eating dinner, that sort of thing. I wouldn't say you need to fully but it's got lore there that's clearly built up through games. But considering it's based on something, you don't need to know anything going in. It's probably one of the better video game adaptations I've kind of seen ever, maybe.
Right, cool.
So yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'd say just to finish off the one other thing I've been doing is playing FIFA because I got it for free.
Oh yeah,
not too much to say. I'm not going to Ultimate Team because I'm not a gambler.
I have it as well, and I've not downloaded it yet.
I had every FIFA between 98 and 2012, so I used to be a big FIFA fan.
10 years down,
and then it all went to Ultimate Team. But I've started a career mode where you create your own player, you create yourself, put them as like a 17-year-old in your favorite team, and you can either do it like as the team or you play as yourself. And I'm like, I would play myself.
So you're always just the same position. And
so it'll get to the game and like it comes up like, oh, it's 1-1 and 10 minutes long. 10 minutes left, and your managers brought you on.
Right, okay, so you don't play a whole game every time.
You can play as a team, but I'm like, if I'm doing this, I might as well just play the player.
Okay,
and you have like goals that would be 3 targets of like get a match rating of 7.5,
right?
Score a goal and have like a 60% dribble rate, and it's like, yeah, cool. This is fun.
Yeah. So is that a slightly more streamlined campaign than doing it like that?
Yeah. So like, because FIFA went so much towards Ultimate Team, the alternatives is that, or just like control a team for like a season,
which is what it kind of used to be, right?
Yeah. But I was like, because I remember, I think FIFA 12 had the Be a Pro thing where they'd done this.
Yeah, I vaguely remember
but
something
it was
about
very
that.
quite basic.
Right.
This
okay.
is,
Yeah. No, I'd be interested. I mean, I claim all the PS Plus games because, as I said earlier, then you have access to them forever. And a lot of them I don't download ever because it has fallen off recently, and a lot of that I think is because they were putting money into this other new service. But FIFA 22 is like a big name to come through on that.
Yeah.
You know, like what is it, 6 months after it came out, something like that?
Yeah,
it's like November-ish it comes out.
Yeah, I think the FIFA as well is always a good like co-op game. Like
it's good to have.
You could invite a few friends over and just play FIFA for an afternoon.
We had somebody came over a month or so ago, went on my PS4 and was like, you don't have FIFA, like any FIFA. And I was like, sorry.
I can 100% guess who that was.
I don't think you actually do know. It's someone you met for the first time that night.
Oh, okay.
But you might be able to put it together there. Tangentially related to Amy there.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't figure out.
He was like, you don't have any FIFA games. And I was like, sorry. Like, why would I spend 50 quid on a game that I'm never going to play? But, you know, I've got it now. And if someone wants to play it, you know, you can download it half an hour or so. Yeah. So cool. Oh, nice. Anything else you want to add on for today's fantastic episode?
I would. One last really important thing to say is that I hope the listeners enjoyed it. And if they did,
hope so too.
They should give us 5 stars on their podcast and listening app. It's
agree.
Very easy. It's very simple. It's always a pleasure seeing those 5-star reviews come on. It's also a bit weird when you get like the 3 or 4 stars and you're like, so you've taken the time to review it, but you haven't just given us 5 stars. Why not?
I think the general consensus, at least we've said before, is do 5 and then criticize us in the writing.
Yeah.
Don't mess with our algorithm.
Yeah.
You don't touch. I would say you don't touch a man's algorithm, but you don't touch anyone's algorithm.
Fortunately,
really.
we haven't got any like 1 stars, which is good.
No, we are what's it called? Aggregate.
Am I attempting fate there?
You may well be, but you know. Any interaction is good interaction as far as I'm concerned. Unless we are review bombed by Snyder fans for saying that Zack Snyder is a shill.
Whoa! Satire.
And there we have it. There's my controversial opinion
of
the week.
If you do want to have a go at Sam for being a bit of a soy boy, give us 5 stars. And then you can email us directly, can't you, Sam?
I've got a bottle of soy right here. You can email us at theprojectprojectpod@gmail.com. So send your pro or anti-Snyder mail my way, and I'll be sure to sift through it, and I will bring the best and or worst to next week's episode. And if there's nothing worth bringing, which happens most weeks, to be honest, I won't bring something.
Yeah, you have to make it worthwhile.
Exactly. And most of the stuff we get is absolute garbage.
It really is.
It is. So
I wouldn't say most. We do get some comments that just like, cool, we enjoy this. And like, we like that, but it's not like really worth reading.
Yeah. And occasionally we'll get like on the YouTube, we'll get really long comments that I like.
And people who haven't actually listened to it.
2 episodes ago, I said to Lewis before we started, I've got something to read out. And I wrote in the notes and I was like, I'm going to read this out. And it got to it and I went, there's no point in me reading this out. No. It was someone just showing off about how much they knew about Jonestown and going on for like 200 words. I'm like,
We get everyone knows the reputation of YouTube comments, and we get a lot where someone just sees the title of an episode and just gives their thoughts on it.
Did I say the one about the Basmati Blues where they're just like, I think I did, where they're like, that's a Scott Bakula film, that's a this person film, in like 3 comments, and I'm like, thanks, man, but like, you know. And you know what? That was actually the last White Rabbit episode. So hopefully,
nice.
Mysterious Stranger, you come back and grace us this episode. But otherwise, all our other socials are in the link tree in the episode description. Otherwise, you can search the Project or the Project Pod on most platforms, and you should find us. And we will look forward to hearing back from you. And we will look forward to you hearing us very shortly, won't we, Lewis?
And I'll hear you
next
week.
We'll see you in West Germany, baby.
Yeah, once we've not broken out from a prison, but an oppressive state.
In the not freedom balloon.
Yes.
Thank you and good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.